I will call the Joint Government Oversight Finance Audit Budget Committee meeting of 3/11 to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we adopt the agenda, without objection, I would like to move the appointment interviews to the end of the government oversight meeting, so that will take place after 10C. With that change, I need a motion to adopt
Romano
the
adopts
agenda.
the agenda.
I have a motion by Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Perna, to adopt the agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next item is approval of minutes dated February 11th, 2025. A motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Van Sickle.
Support growth.
I have a motion by Commissioner Van Sickle, supported by Commissioner Grott. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next item is public participation. It's the first opportunity for the public to participate. Those wishing to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any item on today's agenda. There will be a second opportunity for public participation at the end of this meeting. Anyone from the public wish to be heard on agenda items only? I don't know where you're on this agenda, Don.
No, sir, I don't believe I am. But looking at the agenda, Mr. Chairman, really impressive the number of people that are applying to be on the County Mental Health Board. And with that, I hope that all the candidates are in support of the Central Intake and Referral Center, as is the Board of Commissioners and the County Executive. Our focus is on people who are suffering from mental illness or incarcerated in the Macomb County Jail, and our efforts to prevent recidivism. So I hope each and one of the candidates that you're about to interview are supportive of the effort by the County Board of Commissioners as well as the County Executive. Thank you, sir.
Thank you as always. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard on agenda items only? That takes place at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Anyone else on agenda items? If not, we will move into the revised agenda. That would be item 7A, Human Resource Labor Relations Dependent Care Audit Result 2024. Motion to refer to full board.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Lucido, supported by Commissioner Romano. Carlin, all yours.
Hi, good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to introduce me today is Jennifer Smiley. She's our benefits administrator. You don't get to see her very often, so I brought her with me today. We're just here today to report back on the dependent care audit that we performed in 2024. If you'll recall, we had requested $65,000 in our 2024 budget to perform a dependent care audit of all of our employees who are receiving the dependents of our employees who are receiving benefits. We actually only were spending $55,000, so we did great in that aspect. But we've provided for you just a summary of the results of that audit. As you can see from that, there were 4,304 dependents who were included in that audit. 4,044 of them actually have medical, so that difference would be people that maybe just have a dental or a vision plan and not the medical. When we were done with the audit, which We launched back in the summer. We did multiple connection bases with our employees to participate in that audit. We did have 56 of our dependents that we were unable to verify were eligible for dependents here in the county. And so that turns out to be 1.4% of the population in our medical plans. And so the savings that we anticipate from that action alone is about $280,000 on the first year. And then as you would imagine, that would carry forward year after year as those are no longer costs that we're going to be spending. So just, we thank you again for supporting us, for allocating the money to perform that. And I think we can prove here that it was money well spent.
Great job. Thank you. Seeing no speakers, please vote.
That's it. You're good. I'm gonna stay over here. Okay, next one.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is collective bargaining agreement, Police Officers Labor Council, POLC. Motion to refer to full board.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion by Lucido, supported by Commissioner Howard. Carla?
Me again, thank you. As you can recall, if you were back here in December of 2024, this was the start of bargaining season with our sheriff departments. At that time in December, we ratified 2 of our 4 collective bargaining agreements. We had 2 that were still outstanding. I'm bringing forward to you today one of the 2 that is still outstanding. This contract covers our commander, our captains, and our dispatch director. I've outlined for you in the summaries the financial implications of this contract, and I can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to both you and Chairman Sabatini for setting up the educational sessions on that. I think that was very worthwhile. Seeing no speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Carlo, you're getting out of here a lot easier than I thought, but okay. Next item is contract extension, Hunch free marketing services for $4,025. Motion to refer to full board.
So moved.
Support Van Sickle.
I have a motion by Commissioner Lucido, supported by Commissioner Zinner. Is Crystal or
I can speak.
Chairman, are you speaking to this? It's all yours.
Thank you. Commissioners, we've had a contract with Hunch Free for a number of years. The contract actually expired here in the end of February. We weren't aware. We thought the contract actually went to the end of the year. So we've decided to extend the contract here with Hunch Free to the end of the year so they can continue. We had a meeting with them here briefly today as well, and did put them on notice that we would like to do an RFP on this just to get this bid out going forward. So we will do that, but just so there's no lag in our representation through the rest of this year, this was the easiest solution to the problem that we had. So that's why it's on the agenda here today, Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no further speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next item is proclamation, a proclamation honoring the Macomb Symphony Orchestra on their 50th anniversary. A motion to refer to full board.
So moved.
Support Lucido.
A motion by Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Lucido. Is there any speaker on this? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next item is an executive memo to the BOC dated February 18, 25, Older Adult Advisory Committee end-of-year report. Memo from OACC Chair Barb Zinner dated February 19th, 2025 audit of OACC members. I need a motion to refer to full board.
Zinner will move on that.
Support. Goiki.
Motion by Commissioner Zinner, supported by, was that you, Ken?
Yeah.
Commissioner Goiki. Anyone wish to speak on any of the items?
Hey,
See.
Janet, are you going to go through that list? Oh,
Which list? I'm sorry.
excuse me. I thought normally she goes through the list there. You all have the list. I want to see where we are.
Barbie, could you move the mic closer, please?
Sorry. That was pretty close.
Should have said Commissioner.
The list. The OAAC, Older Adults Board, is looking at a lot of, they have several ideas in regard to senior concerns that have been brought up, especially senior communication, concerned about communication and welfare. So we've been, Tom Matthews has been real helpful with that, and he's been to this board before. So we're examining steps we can take as commissioners to communicate with older adults in the county. And we'll be communicating with each other at the next board meeting next week on, I think, 25th or 28th. So after that, I will have more information for you about that.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Chair.
thanks for sharing that,
I'm sorry?
for sharing that.
It's my pleasure.
Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Okay, now we will move back to what was item 6, appointment interviews, Community Mental Health Board. It's 4 vacancies, 3-year terms to expire on March 31st, 2028. We will be voting on these at the next full board meeting. And Chairman Kraft would like to speak before we do the process.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quickly, I just want to thank all of you for applying. When I started, we didn't have enough folks applying for the spots that we had, so now we have the complete opposite problem. But I think that's a testament to everything that we're doing here, and unfortunately, some effects of post-COVID world and mental health being at the forefront of a lot of issues and a lot of conversations. So I just want to thank you all first for applying, and to mention too that, you know, I may be biased here, but we're one of the most important boards and committees in this county. We deal with a budget of almost $350 million. We rival the roads department for the biggest budget in the entire county. And that's what we work on. That's what we do. And honestly, our goal is to help the people that we serve. And I hope that that's the reason that you're here, because that's the number one reason that we exist, is to help those folks that need our help the most. In the process, you probably saw that we meet twice a month. We do. Those are regular meetings. But we also meet quarterly, Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. Every board member is a member of the Recipient Rights Committee and a Recipient Rights Appeals Hearing Committee. We have quarterly meetings and sometimes a few more thrown in there. And the appeals come up randomly. So whenever a person served wants to go through that process, they will contact us. We will set up a time to meet with them and hear them out. So I just wanted to lay all that out there, because some people apply thinking it's only 2 meetings a month. It's much more than that. And furthermore, we also have committees such as a legislative committee, a personnel committee. Those are all that are optional committees that you could sit on that meet at various times throughout the year or as needed. So just wanted to throw that out there so you know the expectations before we get rolling. And thank you, Mr. Chair, for 2 minutes.
Thank you. I need a motion to refer the names to full board.
Motion to refer to full board?
Support, Zinner.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gratz, supported by Commissioner Zinner. We will now begin the process. Each applicant has 3 minutes. I'm going to apologize in advance for messing up names, even though I have asked some of my colleagues to pronounce them for me. It's still going to happen. So with that, we will start with Karen Bathanti. I remember you applying before, Karen.
I
get that
did.
name right?
Yes, it's
Okay, great.
yep. I believe I applied in 13 when John Kinch was here.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so I'm Karen Bathanti. Thank you. Good afternoon, Board of Commissioners. I'm very pleased to be here. I prepared something, so I'm going to read along. I'm Karen. I'm very excited to be here and honored to share with you why I believe I am a really great candidate for this very important board for Macomb County Community Mental Health. Mental health is an issue that impacts all of us, whether directly or indirectly. And I am committed to ensuring that every individual in our community has access to the support and resources they need to really live their best lives. The landscape of our communities is ever-changing. Each political cycle makes a difference, and I continue to learn more about Macomb Community Mental Health's role as a PIHP. I'm doing some homework and learning more about our role as a PIHP. However, when I think about a shift in those services, I really believe that it could potentially destabilize the local mental health system and definitely create gaps of care. I truly believe that it's important for our state and for those of us who are involved on this board to get involved and to advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. I'm ready to champion hard challenges and look at providing solutions that make sense for our community. Just a little bit about me. I was here years ago, not that long ago. I was the HR director here at Macomb County. I spent 8 years serving, loved every minute of it. I have a very strong background in leadership and community. I have worked alongside, especially in the workplace and in my personal life, with individuals who are struggling with mental health challenges. And I have seen firsthand what resources and support looks like, and also have experienced, especially in the workplace, what it looks like when those resources and support is unavailable, and how that impacts an individual and our community and our work organizations. I do possess, I think, a really strong understanding of Macomb County. Again, long-term resident of the county. I was born in Kentucky, raised in Detroit. My family moved here when I was 13, so I live in Shelby Township, and again, served as your HR director for 8 years. One of the key areas that I am incredibly passionate about is the importance of mental health in our workplace. As our community economy continues to grow, it's crucial that we connect our employers with the amazing services offered by Macomb County Community Mental Health. When leaders are educated on how to identify mental health concerns, they can better support their employees, reduce absenteeism, create healthier, more positive work environments. I am the founder and past chair of an organization called Oakmac SHRM. We are the Society of Human Resource Management. And over the past 8 years, I have insisted that our programming for HR professionals really focuses on mental health. As a matter of fact, your current CEO and her staff have presented at our various functions, and last year took center stage to a group of about 300 HR professionals talking about reducing mental health stigma in our workplace. This is a population that I believe we definitely can focus on and talk about what mental health looks like. And believe me, they were by far the most favorite and popular session. And that session alone generated so much outreach to the CMH staff for continued education, courses on mental health first aid in the workplace. Our chapter is also sponsoring the full-day mental health first aid training. So again, employers can learn what mental health looks like in our organizations and support employees, therefore providing a better outcome for individuals in our community. I believe, again, providing these tools to our employers definitely will address mental health, and I do believe it's essential when we provide these services in our workplace. I also understand what it takes to effectively serve on a board. I'm currently the chair of the Martha T. Berry Foundation Board, and that is something that I absolutely love. I tell the story when I started at the county. Someone said to me, go check on Martha T. I had no idea it was our long-term care facility down the street. Serving on that board forces me to be a strategic thinker, a strong decision maker, and I definitely have learned to work more collaboratively and listen to opposing views and opinions. That foundation is really, I think, has propelled me into becoming a stronger community leader. And those skills that I have learned and gained while serving on that board will definitely transfer to this board. In closing, I bring a ton of passion for people who know me. I am a very passionate person. I don't take no easily. I have a vision and I strive hard. I'm never afraid to ask questions, get involved, and I'm an incredible connector, never afraid to ask for help or support. I am definitely committed to this organization, Macomb County Community Mental Health. I was very disappointed in 13 when I was not chosen for the board, but thought this is a really great season in my life. I am somewhat semi-retired, own a HR consulting business, and through my work with Martha T. Berry and my side business, I have plenty of time to serve on this board. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I look forward to serving you and the Macomb County Community Mental Health Board. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to remind all the applicants that we do have everybody's resume up here. And I'm going to try and enforce the 3-minute rule much better than what I just did. Marko Bogojevski. I know we've seen you before, Marko, so I messed that one up.
That's all right. It's Bogojevski.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
Macedonian, so a little tricky. I appreciate everybody's time this afternoon. Thank you, everybody. I saw this opportunity through the emails from the county, and I was like, why not apply? I work for BBA Law Group. We are a public guardian here in Macomb County. So I'm very familiar with community mental health and how it operates. We are guardians for about 90 individuals here in the county, and about half, I'd say, are part of community mental health. So I have a lot of experience dealing with the supervisors, the case managers at community mental health. I know firsthand the benefits that community mental health provides our residents here. They've made a huge impact in the lives of our clients, being support and providing medications and mental health services to our clients. So I would like to join the board to make sure that, they continue their work, expand to, reach more individuals, because that's an issue we've been facing, is getting people signed up for services. That's something I would definitely try to focus on, allowing more people to receive those services, because when clients and people have those services, they really work and they make a big impact for our county. Like I said, I'm young, so I don't have as many experiences as other people, but I've been dealing with community mental health for about 1.5 years now. So I know the kind of people they deal with, because I deal with those people every day. So I know the challenges they face, and I think I could be a great service to the board, and to bring that experience of dealing with the kind of people that the community mental health deals with. So I hope you guys would consider my application. Thank you.
Thank you, Marko. Commissioner for Marko.
Yes, sir.
Marko, come on back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Marko, thanks for applying. What kind of work does your law firm do specifically? Is it just guardianship, or are there other aspects to the law firm?
So we do estate planning, we do divorces as well, and then we do public guardianship.
So when you mention the relationship between your clients and MCCMH, it's just your clients that are in guardianship that are also falling under the CMH umbrella?
Yes, so they receive services from the community mental health.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank you, Marco.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
thank you.
Next would be Megan Burke, who's seeking reappointment, unable to attend, but we do have the resume attached. Commissioner.
I'm going to be real difficult today, Mr. Chair. I'm
can
sorry.
see that.
I apologize in advance. Just real quick, Megan couldn't be here. She is out of town, but I wanted to mention that she is our current Personnel Committee Chair, which over this past year has been incredibly important to finding our current and new CEO. Without her HR expertise, I don't think we would be where we are today. So I just wanted to mention that she has been an incredible asset to our board in her time with us. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next is Thomas Cornfield. I don't see him. Next would be Salvatore John D'Angelo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Salvatore D'Angelo. It's a pleasure to be here in front of you. I'm aware of the continuous need for the provisions of mental health services and the need to update those provisions as the community mental health needs grow within Macomb County. Firsthand, I have assisted my sister in navigating a path for her daughter, my niece, with Down syndrome 32 years ago. We had to learn how to gain access to the resources meeting my niece's needs. It is without a doubt my niece's success would not have been obtainable without the program's resources and services, MCCMH, MISD, early on programs, therapy services, Brown Elementary, LUTS programs, skill development workshops programs like ARCA Macomb and Mark, all offering person-centered services and support regarding the individual's education, social, vocational, and residential needs and desires. Understanding my niece has the rights and that the courts are set up to protect those rights. My niece is 32 years old and quite remarkable person. Her most apparent quality is her desire to help others. Years ago, I also had the privilege to work for Michigan Works as a facilitator. The intake process involved identifying barriers to employment, addressing those barriers, and providing the tools for the clients to resolve those barriers and gain successful employment. Personal barriers such as housing, transportation, access to health care, lack of education, or accessibility to continued education. Again, one's mental health can be affected by all these unknowns. Many participants had to learn the skills to cope with those unfortunate circumstances. Michigan Works guides and helps clients learn and navigate to sustainable employment. To this day, I chuckle. Every now and then I'll run into somebody in an elevator or somewhere, and they'll thank me, and I'm like, I don't remember who they were. And then they bring up the conversation, and they're just so grateful that there was a program for them to succeed. In many cases, they went to a certified nursing assistant program, and now they're an LPN or a nurse. Tells you the great success of how the programs work. For 12 plus years, I served as Martha T. Berry's admissions manager. I worked daily with the hospice discharge planners, other facilities, and those seeking placement from the community. There is no doubt that by tracking the disease processes for placement over 13 years, I can say that without a doubt that there's an increase in identifying mental health as a secondary diagnosis to primary diagnosis of other age-related health conditions. Imagine living 70 years or more and having mental illness as a child but never diagnosed. Our seniors with dementia, Alzheimer's, cognitive deficiencies may also have this first-time schizophrenia, bipolar, or other mental illness diagnosis for the first time. Macomb County Mental Health Services and resources will continue to develop with the needs of the community, and our community partners, agencies, and grassroots organizations will need to communicate with each other more than ever in providing access to more individualized services. Every person has the right to live the best possible life, to have purpose and function. This would not be possible without Macomb Community Mental Health Services. Everybody is affected by community health, all of us at some point, to a small degree, to a large degree. I think where I'd like to see, if I'm on the board, community mental health, early detention of community mental health illnesses in children so they can be addressed sooner, give them proper treatment, so there isn't a big draw on the resources later on in life because it was nipped in the butt when they were younger, if at all possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Quick question.
Richard, we have a question?
In your resume, it said that you taught English as a second language. Are you fluent in other languages?
Studied Arabic for 4 years at Wayne State University, used to speak it fluently, can still get by.
Okay, thank you. I ask because folks that English isn't their first language sometimes fall through the cracks when it comes to accessing services. So I
Absolutely.
think that's an asset. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate is Richard Deering.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
No speech, just some thoughts. I am the parent and guardian of a 36-year-old man, lifelong resident of the county, who suffers from severe autism. We were told when he was 5 that he would never speak. He now lives independently with direct care worker support. You can imagine the gamut of services and the changes in the playing field that have happened over those 30 years. I would merely like on that front to say I represent a consumer perspective, a slice of what community mental health deals with. And to the board members that are here today, thank you, or he wouldn't be so successful. On a personal note, I retired 2 weeks ago after 45 years in the auto industry as an engineer. I've done most of my work in crash avoidance and largely in cooperative programs between multiple industry participants and the federal government. So I'm familiar with running rather large and expensive collaborative programs that involve disparate views. I understand what it means to operate under federal funding and the need to hit your target and on budget and move on. After those 45 years and the benefits of my son's 36, I'm looking for ways to give back to the community that has helped me and helped my family. That's my story.
Thank you. One of my roles at GM was signing the compliance documents to NHTSA, so I feel your pain.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Dana Frears.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am reapplying for a third term on this board. I have served 2 terms. When I first applied for the board in 2019, I actually applied because I was on the board of a special needs school, and I thought this was something that would be kind of up my alley. The special needs population is something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I've spent several years both in a personal and professional capacity working with them. I'm also an attorney. And I really wasn't sure what to expect when I joined the board, but I have to say that what I found was a group of dedicated, passionate people who constantly have at the forefront the people that we serve. Oftentimes we have to make difficult decisions, and oftentimes we have to deal with things that are not easy, but I can stand here today and say with certainty that every single person on this board constantly thinks of the people we serve, and that's constantly what we strive to do, is serve those people. I know sometimes it may not seem like that to an outside perspective, or it may seem like we have something else in mind, but that's constantly our number one. And with that, I have to say that it's truly been my honor and a privilege to serve with those people and to get to know the people in our community that really work hard to frankly represent our most vulnerable population. I think that the people that we serve, special needs, mental health, you have to have someone look out for you, because sometimes you can't do that on your own. And you need the type of people that we have on our board that want to help you, want to make sure that you get services, and want to make sure that you live your best life. And that's what we try to do. I hope that you pick me again for a third term, but if not, I just want to say that it's really been a privilege to serve with everybody, and to do the work that we've done. Like I said, I'm also an attorney. I work a lot with indigent defense, so I see people that suffer from mental health issues on a daily basis. And this county is fantastic at our resources and trying to reach those people. And I know the gentleman talked about the central intake at the jail, and I frankly can't wait for that to be up and running and to help those people and hopefully reduce some of the recidivism that we see and help that population. I would say 90% of my clients have mental health issues that are untreated. And once treated, you know, they aren't still out committing crimes. They aren't doing things to hinder their own lives, and they are able to lead productive and better lives. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
I can say, knowing Dana personally, she has talked about how fulfilling and the challenges that exist on this board. And I don't know why, but she praises the leadership of Commissioner. Is there anything you'd like to add? I would. Yeah, I figured as much.
Speaking of leadership, what Dana didn't mention is, I mentioned previously, we meet regularly twice a month. We have full board and we also have program and budget committee. She was named the vice chair of the program and budget committee. Well, for the last 6 months or almost a year, our chairman had to go on leave for military service and ended up resigning while Dana was always there to step up and chair those meetings. So I want to thank her for her leadership and stepping into that role. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you very much.
Next is James Gammicchia.
Good afternoon,
Hi,
Mr.
Jim.
Chair, Board of Commissioners. I'm Jim Gammicchia. I am coming before you, I think, the third or fourth time in a row. And I think that's a testament to how high I hold the community mental health in our, excuse me, I've been suffering from allergies. It looks beautiful, but it's killer out there. And it's a testament to where I hold it and how high esteem I hold community mental health. I work for the city of Roseville currently, and I manage the CDBG programs there. I do a lot of grant work with those less fortunate, low to moderate income individuals. Personally, I've been touched by mental health. I've been a consumer, not currently, and I've been touched by suicide more times than I care to count. And so when I go to meetings frequently at the Verkulen building and I see that gaping hole in the ground next to the jail, I see that as a great opportunity, and I'm thankful that that's coming because, as other candidates have said, it's a way to stop the recidivism and to start the care and the compassion early for community mental health. In my personal life, I was a youth minister, so I was a mandated reporter as well as a counselor to many youth who suffered from a variety of mental health issues. And again, professionally, I work with grant work and the low to moderate income, those who need the most support and help each day. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I've been a public servant all my life, and I just think this is a wonderful opportunity to help and to get in at the ground floor of this central intake center being open.
I will say I do know that Jim does an excellent job with the CBDG program in the city of Roseville.
Thank you,
Commissioner
Mr.
Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jim, I think you said you previously received services?
Yes.
Is there anybody in your family that still receives them, or is it just you receiving previously?
Immediate, no, not that I'm aware of at least. First cousin, yes.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Next is Sherita Harvey. Welcome.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Thank you for your time and hearing me and my story. My name is Sherita Harvey. I was here last year, applied to be a board member as well. I run an outpatient private practice where we do behavioral health and substance use disorder. I am currently a part of the sobriety court program in Hazel Park, And I've heard the word recidivism used a lot here today. And one of the parts that I play in the program is to help people not only dismiss their legal affairs, but also make a commitment to change. So in order for them to be a part of the program, they have to participate in substance use and mental health therapy. And so Lifeline Center provides the mental health and substance abuse treatment. It is important for me being a part of this board. In 2020, when COVID happened, my uncle got COVID and ended up having a stroke as a result. And this is a man who worked over 20 years, just get up, go to work, the smartest person you could ever have known. And due to his stroke, it catapulted him into early stages of dementia. So currently, my husband and my aunt share custody or guardianship of him. He was a part of the PACE program, but because he worked all of his life, when he came out of the nursing home after 2 years of rehab, unfortunately, he no longer met the financial qualifications because of the assets that he set up prior to his medical issues interfering with his future. He was 5 years away from retirement, and now he can't get the services because he has assets that he prepared for. And so I wanted to be a part of the mental health board to help bridge the gaps that we don't get to see. Working in the mental health industry for over 12 years, I've sat at the discharge table as a social worker trying to discharge somebody who made $2 above their income, therefore could not receive services, therefore was back in 30 days because they couldn't get the help that they needed because they made $2 additional. So I want to be a part of bridging those gaps where people can get the services that they need, and if not from the board, from our outpatient services that we provide. I love what I do. I support mental health. I support the legal aspect. I get it that they all have to work together. But when we don't work together, people are constantly falling in the cracks over paperwork processes, right? And a part of what I would like to help close is let's take care of the person and we can figure out the paperwork later, because if we can't get them stable in their mental health, all of the paperwork will fall through the cracks anyway because they can't complete it. And so I would like for us to work together and helping build our communities back by taking care of the individuals as a priority. So I just wanted to share my story and why I want to be a part of this. I know you guys have my bio, and I'm sure there's 1,000 things I left out because it's not about what's on paper. I'm here to tell you who I am as a person, and I would like to be a part of the board to be able to help bridge the gaps in the community as well as the community of mental health. So I thank you guys for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, and you did that very well.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, Sherita?
Sherita, don't leave yet. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sherita, thanks for applying again. Quick question for you on your resume. You mentioned that you also work at Harbor Oaks Hospital. Is that
Yes.
current, or are you still there?
I am no longer there. I left Harbor Oaks Hospital in 2021 and have been doing private practice full-time since.
Gotcha. You had them both on your resume to present, so I wasn't sure if you were still there or not, so I wanted to make sure. And I mentioned that because previously we had appointed somebody who worked at Harbor Oaks but was a decision maker, policy maker, and that presents a conflict of interest for us. So I wanted to just clarify that to make sure. Thank you, Sherita.
No,
Thank
I
you,
did
Mr.
my
Chair.
10 years and out.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace?
Thank you, Chair. I know Sherita, and I know she doesn't live in my district, the Great District 8. However, she has been a great asset to our community. She helped put on a mental health fair that was very much needed in our community. It was a health and wellness fair, and she pulled together, I want to say like 90% of the vendors that were able to attend, worked on physical health, mental health, you name it, we had it there. So I do thank you for that. I thank you for your work in the community. and just being an asset to anyone that needs it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Next is Daniel Hyso? Hyso. That's close.
First, thank you. Thank you, esteemed members of the board, for inviting me here today. A little bit about me. I am a lifelong Macomb County resident. I actually was one of the first peer supports to be certified in the state of Michigan for Macomb County, meaning I've had to have a significant recovery story. My family and I have learned the struggles throughout the mental health system. I was in a progressive group home as a young adult, was able to become successful. I do have autism, bipolar, and ADHD, but I choose to not let that define me, and I choose to help people when I can. I've been a member of the National Alliance for Mental Illness, or NAMI, for several years now. In high school, I had the great honor of speaking for Macomb County at the Walk a Mile in My Shoes in Lansing, Michigan. I am also a Neil Reed alumni, which is the Macomb Intermediate School District, which definitely helped me become the young man I am today. I also, when I worked at First Resources Treatment North as a peer support, I got to help in the jail diversion program they had there. Everyone's talking about the recidivism rate, and it is very real. The struggles we have in this county with mental health and the criminal justice system are very real. I've had the pleasure and opportunity to work with people. I've been in the trenches. I've been part of the trenches. Mental health is something that likes to hide in the dark. And the worst part about it is when someone hears that you have a mental health issue, you're suddenly stigmatized. That's why it's not talked about. I believe becoming a part of this board will make people realize just because you struggle with mental health does not mean you are any less of a person than the person next to you. I feel that through my struggles in life, that I have firsthand experiences with the struggles of making money, being able to qualify for group homes and other programs. But I also know that the resilience of someone with mental health issues is strong. I am proof. I would like to see other people that have issues get the help they need, because it does get hard sometimes. And I know that the unfortunate realities is there is a large suicide rate from mental health. I feel that this board, if I'm appointed a member, we could bridge that gap, because a lot of people that I have known, several people that have committed suicide just because of the stigma. And what needs to happen with mental health is that we need to make it normal to say, I have an issue, it's okay that I need help. I feel that bringing mental health awareness to light with a board like this would be greatly beneficial for every member of Macomb County. Whether you're personally affected by mental health, you have a friend that has mental health issues, or if you do yourself have mental health issues, you can overcome them. And I feel that with a board like this, if I'm elected, I can help point out any discrepancies that there might be, or point out some possible strategies that could help reach the everyday citizen who struggles with mental health. I'm happy to take any questions, and I thank the board for the time.
Thank you, Daniel. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Daniel, thank you for applying. One quick question for you. Do you have any immediate family that you're aware of that works for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services?
No, I've graduated out of that myself, so.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next is Rebecca Klik. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone for accepting my request to be here today. I am a therapist in private practice. I am dual licensed. I have licensing as a licensed professional counselor and also as a marriage and family therapist. And I apologize for anyone that already knows this, but in the state of Michigan, there are about 13,000 licensed professional counselors, and there are about 850 marriage and family therapists. So I took an extra year of schooling to get that specialized training. I work with a lot of families, couples. I also work with a lot of teens. And I wanted to be here today because of the extremely, I find, alarming rate of ADD, anxiety, depression, autism among our young people. The things that I'm seeing in the short time I've been in private practice are, to me, actually alarming. I had no idea that things had gotten to the level that they are at. It's leading to a lot of family instability, hence working with a lot of families. I'm interested in the research and the programs that are currently in place and that need to be in place to address these issues as we're going along, to try to figure out what we can be doing differently. There is a lot of research already, as you know, with regard to the harm that social media is causing. Unlimited access. I have a number of teens in my practice that have, starting at the age of 8, 9, 10 years old, that have unlimited 24/7 access to cell phones, internet usage, and it's leading to a lot of issues. We also have the problem of online schooling, which is an option now for parents. But as we know, teenagers particularly develop their resilience to dealing with situations like being in school and working in difficult situations and trying to find their way to better relationships and getting along with people. And if they're removed from that environment and they're allowed to do online schooling, I'm seeing that their grades are falling, they're becoming more isolated, and their relationships to others are suffering. So that's another one of the things that I've been dealing with in private practice. They're sleep deprived, they're on their phones all night long. Families, parents are afraid to do anything about it. They're afraid to take the phones are in school all day long. So there are a lot of issues with our young people. And parental support for treatment plans that I put together is very hit and miss. There are a lot of parents who really don't want to deal with treatment plans for young people that are suffering because for a variety of reasons, they don't have time. It's not really that big of an issue. I think coming to therapy will fix this. There's a number of issues that come up. We also have an issue with kids being overachievers, perfectionists. That's leading to a lot of anxiety based on things that they're seeing out in social media or through other peer groups that they feel that they have to achieve at these levels. And in the background, they're needing medication just to get through the day. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to be here, was to see if there's some way to work between the mental health, community mental health setting and the private practice setting, to see if there's a way to bridge some of that work and some of the research and some of the programs that could be utilized across the continuum. Also, our seniors are not seeking mental health therapy. And as we know, being a senior has its own unique set of challenges. And seniors are not seeking therapy, partly because we can't bill Medicare. And that's something that I know there are people that are working on in the state of Michigan to change that. But we do have a lot of seniors that could use mental health therapy services, and they're not getting them. So I really wanted to be here today. That's the main reason. I just would like to see if there was some way that I could contribute and learn from all of you to strengthen the bridge of resources and opportunities between the private practice setting and the community mental health setting. And I really appreciate you allowing me to be here today. Thank you.
Commissioner Kraft, do you have any questions? None? Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Next is Dr. Angie Miller.
Good afternoon, board and commissioners. My name is Dr. Angie Miller. as you can see my resume, I am just indebted to mental health services. I have been a clinical social worker for over 30 years. I worked in nearly every setting, outpatient, community-based. I had my practice, inpatient psych hospitals, military bases. So my major concern, and I always had a passion to bridge that gap between the mental health system and the criminal justice system, because a lot of our mental health, who are the most vulnerable, are getting pushed into the criminal justice system. It has lacked diagnosis, even during early childhood. A lot of children has not been diagnosed in elementary school. They've been labeled as conduct disorder, antisocial, when in fact there wasn't enough professionals in the school system to address that child, who later went through the juvenile system to the criminal justice system. We need more providers in that system. I have had the opportunity to understand the needs of the population, having front row seat with the patients, inpatient hospital, telling me their needs, and also being a mother of 2 adults who had mental health issues that were misdiagnosed in school. As far as being an insider, being able to listen to the needs of the patients, and being an outsider, a mom who has struggled with 2 of her adult sons having issues, I just found there was a strong need to bridge that gap. Some of my clients or patients in the hospital had simply said that they were hospitalized for no reason because the family member thought it was their mental health diagnosis that sent them to the hospital. Well, all they were doing was expressing their emotion. So family members often get burnt out and send their loved ones to the hospital for respite. And a lot of families aren't understanding the needs of their loved ones, that communication gap to understand what their loved one is going through. And a lot of the patients in the vulnerable population, they didn't even understand their diagnosis. They didn't have education or informed of what their diagnosis meant. So they made it very difficult for the families and the patients to bond and to understand. So they get burnt out. The clients couldn't return home, and working in the hospital setting, a lot of time we had to send our clients to shelters. So there was a breakdown in the family. There was a breakdown in communication. They didn't have enough resources or tools to address the needs of their loved ones. And some of the goals that I would like to achieve, if selected on the board, is mainly to reduce that gap between the mental health system and the criminal justice system, reducing, again, that recidivism rate of in and outpatient psychiatric hospitals, and jails and prisons, institutions, and to give that individual and family more tools for empowerment and self-sufficiency. And I think in order to achieve those goals, we have to have more mental health providers accessible in the schools, early on in the child's education, very early, for prevention, detection, intervention. Train the administrators, going into the police departments and being part of the court systems, the treatment court systems. And I believe that some of the providers need to be more trauma-informed training to recognize that sometimes trauma causes some of the behaviors to occur and the interactions that could be a symptom of the underlying or the cause of what that individual is going through. Again, I've learned that, yes, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
Okay, you had a question?
No, you have less than 30 seconds.
Okay. Okay, so that's all. I just want to be an agent of change and make it better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Miller, thank you for applying. We got to talk about the elephant in the room, the court case, the conviction, the appeal.
Yes.
Because as board members, we get run through the system every month for Medicaid fraud and things like that, because if we show up on that list, we're off, period.
Right.
We cannot serve. So I want to ask you where you are at in that appeals process, because you stated you're appealing.
Yes, I am.
A status update, I guess.
I'm going through an appeal because I am actually the victim. I have had colleagues that I trusted, and they used my MPI numbers to bill. So I have been battling this for 7 years. I have reported it to the general attorney. I've done all that I can.
Sure.
But it's very big. So this has been going on for years. And I'm like, probably not the only one this has happened to. I'm probably the only one really fighting.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was hard to tell with the little blurb, so I wanted to
Yes.
ask you to clear the air a little bit. So thank you very much for
You're
doing that for
welcome.
me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for being
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Edward Mischel. I know I didn't say that right.
Yeah, you did get that right. You're one of the few people that did get it right.
Did you guys all hear that?
When we had a daughter, I pleaded with my wife to name her Michelle. She wouldn't do that. So, yes, my name is Edward Mischel. I am retired. And as you probably see by the resume, the 40 years that I've been working with my social work degree has been in community mental health. And it's spanned all areas of mental health: inpatient, outpatient, emergency psychiatry, working with first responders, working with children, working with adolescents, working with seniors, working with the adult foster care home system, and of course, working in the administration in these various departments. I was born and raised in East Detroit. And when I had the opportunity to go downtown and work in Detroit, I wanted to work in Detroit because that's where the most critical need was, and probably still is at the time. As director at Detroit Receiving's Crisis Center, that crisis center sees 700 psychiatric patients a month. Chronically, mentally ill, homeless, substance abusers. So we took that problem and we looking at the recidivism rate, and we worked with the police and the fire departments. We worked with community mental health centers. We brought in a number of individuals, and we established programs and projects to reduce the recidivism rate. We also did the same to reduce the hospitalization rate. Some of the projects that we put together, actually all the projects that we put together were successful. Some of them were accepted by Detroit Wayne Mental Health, some were not. And so we also realized at the time that a lot of the success and the problems with recidivism are very individual, case by case by case. And so the answer to that was education and training. Training the police, training the EMS crews, training the staff that work in the adult foster care homes, working with the families who have these individuals living with them. And even if they don't have them living with them, the training and education component was extremely important and very successful. And virtually all the projects that are cited, that I'm talking about have been published. I was part of these publications. They were made known nationally, and some of these programs were picked up by other counties, Alameda County in California, a couple of counties in New Jersey. They picked up on these programs because they reduced the hospitalization rate, they reduced the recidivism rate, and we felt very successful in doing that. But it took coordination, education, and training, because to be blunt, as a social worker from Wayne State, the classes I took back in the 70s are similar classes to what they're teaching now. And when you come out of MSW school or PhD school or even psychiatry, there still needs to be an incredible amount of education done with the professionals so that they know how to cope with, deal with, and work with this particular population. The last project I was involved with before I retired is a project that's still up and running. It's a statewide project. The state gave the Department of Psychiatry some money to put together a program that provides education, training, support, and treatment for every first responder in the state: police, fire, EMS, corrections, and dispatch, and their families and their spouses, because we realize that the problems that they have don't just impact that first responder. And while PTSD is important, it only equates to about 20% of the issues that they have. The majority of the issues, the divorce rate is ridiculous. Drug and alcohol problems are skyrocketing. The kids are acting out. Anxiety, depression, poor sleep, poor diet. All these types of things that I'm talking about with the first responders we're looking at, with the rest of the population as well, because they are deficient in those areas. So now that I'm retired and my wife wants me to get involved with something and get out of the condo, so I thought, okay, I will, I'll apply here. But my passion for this population has not retired just because I retired. I really do think that, we can make a real positive impact on this particular population. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Thank you. Next is Alicia Oaks.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you for having me here today. I applied to this board because I now have some time that I would like to give back. You see, I raise one child, my nephew Dakota, who's now 18 and out of the home, and I have two more children that are my niece and my nephew who suffer from varying degrees of mental illness. We're not talking one inpatient hospital stay, we're talking multiple. And I know sometimes it's easy for us to say that parents aren't doing what they're supposed to do, but let me tell you, the system is difficult to navigate. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I'm the chief trial attorney at the Macomb County Office of Public Defender. I consider myself a smart person who can access resources, and sometimes I have trouble navigating the system of accessing services. And I believe that there is a need out here right now for parents to have somebody to help them understand the system, and maybe for the board to understand what we are seeking and having trouble with when we're out. I can recall a time I had my case manager, Mary, at the time, at my house, and I told her I have called Access 14 times. This is the answer that I'm giving. She's like, there's no way that's what they're telling you. So we sat there at my kitchen table and we called Access. And she got so irritated, she picked up the phone and she took over that phone call because she then saw what I was having a barrier to getting services for my kids. I am the proud recipient of last year's Caregiver Award. I take that as an honor that my team and the people who know me know that I am viciously advocating for my kids. I have come before the Board of Community and Mental Health when we have access some of these roadblocks to let them know what's happening. And I really implore and wish more parents would do so. But I believe that I have the heart and the compassion and the understanding to help bridge some of the gaps out there for people getting services. I can tell you that I think one of the most important people on my team is my peer support person. She is the biggest supporter that I have and the person that I can go to and talk to who understands what it's like being in my shoes. I can talk to my case manager, Nicole, and she's great, but sometimes she doesn't understand things from the parent perspective. And I'm just hoping that if I am chosen, I can give that unique perspective to the board and maybe help some of those, bridging those gaps of accessing service. I know when I'm in the hospital with one of my kids and there's somebody else navigating this difficult system, sometimes I'll offer my words of wisdom because sometimes it's the way you phrase things. Sometimes it's what you have to ask for. And if you're not aware of what you need to do, sometimes those doors are closed in your face. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Eldria Seiko. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come in here. And yes, my name is Edlira, and my last name is Seiko or Sako. I want to start with a little short story of mine. 13 years ago, I moved from Albania, between Italy and Greece, to United States. And while I was flying on that airplane, I had my son next to me, 9-year-old at the time, and a lot of changes were happening because we came from another culture, another country, to a multicultural place like United States. And I had, as a mom, I had to kind of like think through a lot of things. I was not only a mom, I was a wife, I was a woman, and a daughter. When I landed to United States, I promised to myself, even though I was going back with my education from my master's to associated degree, I was going to study for psychology because I wanted to kind of like pave the way for my son, which was going through two important stages of development, from childhood to adulthood, or teenager, I'm sorry. So I decided to study for psychology at Macomb Community College. I earned a degree on an associated degree over there. And then I moved to Wayne State University to study for a dual major in political science honors, which ended on honors, and psychology. At the same time, when I was at Wayne State University, I have been working as a clinical lab coordinator, and that job kind of like gave me a real insight on having hands into mental health and psychology. After that, I was accepted in counseling psychology, and I am now a master's student at counseling psychology at Wayne State University. At the same time, even though I was going through all these education levels, I was still the mother, I was still the daughter, and I was still the wife of my close kind of circle of my family. And this gave me the strength to be an advocate and work with SIPOL Detroit on different bills, because I strongly believe that preventing things is better than having them going forward and then trying to back them up. So that's why I strongly believe that we have to work more toward preventing things than having them becoming a problem, than backing them up. And that's why I'm very honored to apply in this board. I don't know if I'm going to get accepted or not, but as a teacher, I want to advocate again for children. I want to advocate for old people like my parents, and I want to advocate even for adults like my son. He is 22 years old, so that I can help community with all my force and resources that I got here in the United States, but even back when I was in Albania and I was studying for political science, and I was studying in my master's of political theories. So I want to gather all these things, and why not even learning by doing more than I learned previously? Because as an old saying is, we are in a process of learning from birth to death. So I will never stop doing things that I strongly believe to do. And just not going furthermore, I have a lot in my resume or in my LinkedIn profile, but I don't want to take more time, and I want to leave, if you have any questions, I want to leave a little time for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your story. Seeing no questions, thank you again.
Thank you so much again.
But
I don't have a question, just a comment, and this is for several people that have already spoken already. I do appreciate like your activity across the county, as you are in Clinton Township, and you, as other folks have also who have already spoken, are active. I'm looking at the district list of the current board members, and there's no one from my district, but that's no one's fault. But what is important to me is that there are folks that are working across the county, and I'm just thankful that you have already demonstrated that work.
I work as a teacher in your district, if I'm not wrong, in Warren, but I'm actually living in Mr. Perna district, District 7. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Paul Silverstreet?
Silvestri.
What?
Yeah, I thought Silvestri.
You were close there. It's
Thanks,
Silvestri.
Paul.
No, give him a hard time.
Yeah, no, it's hard to pronounce sometimes. So,
Welcome.
thank you for having me. Greatly appreciate the honor to speak. My name is Paul Silvestri, lifelong resident of Macomb County, born in Warren, live in Sterling Heights now. I was unfamiliar with what community mental health did up until a couple of years ago when my wife and I took over guardianship of her brother. Her brother is on the special needs spectrum. He has autism, was not getting any services until we took over his guardianship and got him the help he needed. Over that 3.5 years he's been getting services, he's blossomed. He's come out of his shell. He talks, he's happy. He's a completely different person. And while in the process of navigating this system, there were some roadblocks we had to jump through, but we were appreciative of what our caseworker, support coordinator, and what the mental health board provided us. So I applied hoping to be able to bring a new perspective to the board, potentially some new ideas, and how can we reach some of those people that we're not able to serve right now, and bring a new perspective. So thank you again for having me speak, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Seeing none, have a good day. Next is Katrina Iannello. Oh, boy. I should say, finally.
All right, it is Katrina Iannello.
Say that again.
Iannello.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so my name is Katrina Iannello. I have been a mental health professional since 2007. I started my career as a behavioral health tech on inpatient units. I got my registered nurse license. I have worked at a multitude of different hospitals in inpatient, outpatient, partial hospitalization. I've worked in the emergency room in the specialized behavioral health units, working to get patients the services that they need. Currently, since October of 2022, I am the Health Services Administrator at the Macomb County Jail. A lot of people have been talking about the jail. On top of the Central Intake Assessment Center, we also are getting brand new medical and mental health units for the facility, which is a huge thing because if anybody's ever been in that facility, the current mental health unit is not the most inviting environment for our consumers. We will also be able to separate our more severely mentally ill from our less that still need group services that we started providing within the facility, and be able to temper them out so that we can give access to the services that we provide to the ones that actually need it in a better environment so that we are monitoring them appropriately and correctly. During my time as the Health Services Administrator, it's been 2 years and 4 months. We have taken a very close look at our mental health population. It is growing, and the amount of SMI, or severely mentally ill, that we are seeing in the facility is tremendous. We are very quickly becoming an actual treatment center. So the services that we're providing have increased tremendously. We're currently probating patients in the facility that are not agreeable to treatment or don't feel that they need it, but truly do. We are able to get them those services and be able to start them on medications while they're with us. And in partnership with Community Corrections, we are able to get them with services so that once they leave, they have somewhere to go after. Hopefully, the new assessment center will bring even more opportunities for us to improve that. We were able to improve actual access to health services for our mental health population in multiple different ways. I created a mental health nurse position, which is a specialized nurse that deals specifically and has that experience to deal with the mental health population so that they can create a rapport, talk to them on a more one-on-one basis, ensure that they're getting their monthly injections within the facility. We have increased the amount of patients on medications
Over the past 2 years, 20% more patients are receiving medications of the mental health nature in the facility. We've increased access to the psychiatrist. More patients, about 150 more patients a month are able to see the psychiatrist and get evaluations, get medication reviews, and ensure that we are on the right course for their treatment. We've made multiple different initiatives. We are working closely with our forensics partners. A lot of times our patients are not competent to stand trial, and the wait for forensics currently is 9 months. So we are housing patients in the jail for that 9-month period that really need mental health services. One kudos that we did get from forensics recently was that they have been able to restore competency much sooner without even placing them at the forensics facility because of the work that we're doing. Currently, we did have a reputation at the jail in health services. Just to be honest, since I've taken over, there have been 0 deaths by suicide. There have been 0 severe attempts by suicide. And there have been 0 deaths by a medical incident while I've been in charge there. We take this very seriously. I think that the work that I have done, not only in the mental health realm, but I am also in charge of medical services, I'm in charge of dental services, and the substance use services portions of those programs. I do think that I can lend a lot of assistance to the board in giving that sort of a perspective. The reason I took the job I did was I was a registered nurse there just working for 4 years. And I saw a need that we could greatly improve our patient care, and we could greatly improve the support that we were giving to the staff that was actually there. We started out with 25 people across the board. I had 8 full-time nurses. We did not have enough nurses to cover the services that we were giving. Currently today, we have a total of 55 employees across the board, and I have no openings for any nurses. So I think that the work that I've done has been extensive. I think that I could lend a lot of assistance. And I think that this would be a great opportunity for me to step into a realm of perhaps in the actual community before they get to me. Questions?
Commissioner Kraft.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You're the last one. Why not, right?
Hey.
Thank you for your application. I'm curious what you see as being as ingrained in the jail and WellPath as you are. Where do you see the relationship going with the central intake in terms of the county, community corrections, CMH, and WellPath, and everybody's, I guess, more so WellPath's place with CMH and the folks that are over there?
One of the biggest challenges that we see within the facility is that we will diagnose, we'll evaluate, we'll start them on treatments, and then they leave us. And then in a couple of weeks, we see them again. And they haven't been to any outpatients. They have not been taking their medications, and they're right back to where they are, and we have to start over. I think one of the goals of the central intake assessment especially is that there is active assessment as people are coming in. So we will absolutely be able to identify the problems when they come in the door and start treatments right away. One of the goals I know from community corrections perspective is that they will be able to offer diversion services a lot sooner with the centralized intake. A lot of times, so we have a weekly care meeting is what we call it, and all of us as a multidisciplinary partners sit down, talk about the more problematic patients from a mental health and a medical perspective, make sure we're all on high alert for those patients. And we work on diversion. If we're able to divert them, if we're able to get them to an inpatient center, I think one of the goals ultimately would be for WellPath and community mental health to work a little bit better in gaining those accesses. Currently, my job is that we petition someone and send them to the ER, and 9 times out of 10, they release them from the ER.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This concludes the applicant process. I can't thank all of the applicants enough for applying. The decision will be made at our full board meeting on Thursday. So once again, thank you to this very critical issue we have in Macomb County. With that, that concludes the government oversight agenda. So with great pleasure, I will turn the gavel over to the Chair of Finance, Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you,
All
Mr. Chair.
yours.
Great. You can hear me listen to talk some more.
Chair.
If nobody wants to stick around, you're free to leave.
Wait, we need to vote on referring it to full board. Yeah, good for you. Thank you.
Motion, I'm sorry, Commissioner Zinner, did you receive a vote?
Oh, I'm sorry, I
That's
didn't
okay.
get called, so, yes, thank you.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item A, Finance Department 2024 fourth quarterly report. I'll take a motion to move that to full board. Actually receiving, move to full board. Motion from Commissioner Lucido, support from Commissioner Wallace. I think Vicky is here.
Yep.
Yes, perfect. Vicky, thank you for patiently waiting.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, no problem. Yes, you have in front of you the fourth quarter report. Just a reminder on this report, since it's also year end, it's not a complete report, as we are still in the process of completing our year end process. So the numbers provided to you are essentially when we started to run the report, which was around February 25th. So obviously year end will finish as part of the ACFR and audit process. I know there's a lot of information in the report. You're used to seeing the report and having it presented. Probably one of the highlights to point out and to not take up too much of your time is sometimes what everyone likes to see. I think we're on track basically at this point overall. But right now, if you go to your page 2 and just in the upper left-hand corner is our general fund balance is just under $128 million. I don't know if anyone had any questions in particular or if there's something you'd like me to follow up on.
Thank you, Vicky. Let me see if we have any questions. We have a couple. Start with Chair Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Vicky.
Hi.
I do have a few questions, and I'll probably just follow up with you.
Sure.
And then we can obviously circulate some of those responses to the board. But specifically with the fund balance, the 128 that you just stated. So what year-end entries are still necessary to, and approximately what that total will be to get us to our final fund balance? Do you have any idea?
I'm going to say the majority of items are entered in. I know Steve Schmiegel brought a majority of the revenues coming in at the end of last year in December, so I believe the larger items are in. There's a couple outstanding. I have the list. I can get that to you. In an email, we closed the books with departments actually entering into the system into Workday on February 21st. So a majority of the items are in again from the department. So now it's just a lot of those last minute invoices that still trickle in and need to be paid. And then generally, I think the revenues that seem to lag behind are our grants and just the processing of the grants from the last quarter. Of obviously, we have to get our reimbursement packages ready when year end closes and then process that to the grantor. And then the grantor obviously has to check those and process those back to us. So, you know, if you're looking for a type or a group, I'd have to say probably grant type reimbursements would
Is that
be the
why
largest.
the revenue's off by so much, Vicky? Is that primarily because of grants on that number?
Yeah, I would think so. And the processing of that, yes.
Okay. So I know the capital improvement plan, I know we have a meeting on that coming up as well. I know
Yes.
the reconciliation for 2024 is here for us. I know that there was an entry that was made at the end of the year for $2.2 million to reconcile the capital improvement fund, which is provided here. So it looks like we've got about $462,000 left in that fund at the end of the year. Are we planning on just leaving that in the fund at year end?
Yeah, it's my understanding that usually that just flows through
Okay.
into the next year.
Okay. And then I know there's some other questions here. The last one I have is the employee counts that you provided us in here. Were those year-end totals or were those through February?
No, they look like they were through February.
February.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, with
And are those actual
vacancies.
positions or FTEs?
Though, sorry, can you expand on, I get
assume
what you're
they're
saying.
actual positions,
Correct,
position counts.
right,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair Sabatini. Commissioner Howard.
This question might not be for you, so if it is, just let me know. If I'm reading this correctly, we have $8.7 million in the opioid fund. I think with even the presentation that we had today and the concern about that, is there a plan or a time frame? Because that appears to me to be quite a sum of money for the opioid fund. I know John Hopkins rolled out an advisory when the opioid settlements first started hitting to municipalities about what they should do with these funds to better serve their community. One of the biggest concerns when it comes to opioid funds and settlements is that they're going to government agencies, and those agencies are using that to frankly take care of themselves as a city, or you know, I don't want to say they're paving roads with it, but some cities seem to be doing that and not actually helping the residents that were harmed through the opioid crisis that we experienced. And so is that number correct of what I am reading? And if so, do we have a plan or a timeline on how we're going to actually allocate those funds to help the families that were harmed by the opioid crisis?
Yeah. Barb Caskey oversees a committee that handles the opioid funds. So I can talk to Barb regarding your question. And yes, they do have a plan. There was a plan in place, continues to be a plan in place. I know they meet on it and how they're spending those dollars.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Vicky. And Commissioner Howard, I had those questions previously too before you came on this board. There's a special individual page in the budget book specifically for that, so we can keep better track of it. But Vicky's right, Barb Caskey's kind of running that program, and she has come to us previously with updates, so we can ask her to come before us again and give us an update on that progress.
No, I appreciate that. Thank
Yep.
you.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Vicky.
Hello.
You mentioned having to take care of some late invoices. That's invoices for services or goods that we received in 2024?
Correct.
How long do we accept invoices for last year and it's still recorded against last year?
It basically goes up until we're at a point where we have to turn our books over to the auditors. So right now, we're estimating that we're going to close that period basically end of March, early April. So then we can make sure that we start processing everything and turn our records and get a clean trial balance to the auditors in early May. They're still through the audit process. There are still transactions that can be attributed back to 2024 through that process.
And
But
then what happens? Are the funds in those different line items carried over and then they're billed against those line items?
Correct.
In this year?
right, yes.
Okay. And I had a question about grants. You mentioned grants. Can you tell us if any grant money was return because we didn't have the opportunity or whatever to spend it?
I can find out for you.
Thank you.
Not to my knowledge, that's generally not something that happens in the county where we return
I would hope
grant
not. I hope
funds.
we'd find a way to put all monies that we get to good use.
Correct. But yeah,
Good and
I can find
appropriate
that.
use.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay, thank you. I'll look for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Goike.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Vicky, you just caught me on this about this. What is the fiscal year for the county? Is it from January 1 to December 31?
Yes, correct.
Then how come we're going back? I've never, on all the auditing stuff that I've ever seen, everything has to be cleared for that, in that fiscal year and audited for that fiscal year.
Yes, but there's still the time appropriated. If someone's doing work for us on December 31st, they have to then process their invoice, get their invoice to us. We have to pay the invoice.
It's March.
So, correct. And there's people that can do late billings. Again, when I talk about even the grant funds and how it works on the grant funds, we're expending funds. We have to pull our reports together. And then we have to send that reimbursement packets out to the funders and get that through. So yes, it can be a process, and there's ones that we've worked on. We ask departments to work on their invoices with the vendors that they work with as well, but you do get some stragglers.
This will balance out into what was appropriated for it. It's just that then you have to do the actuaries of the final closures.
Correct.
All right,
Yes.
I understand you now.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. So you don't think we're going to have any fiscal discrepancies once these are paid before we start the books?
I would think not, no. I mean, what's your definition of a fiscal discrepancy? What are you looking for? Are you looking for audit findings? Is that your question, or?
Anything to do with the money that's inappropriate?
I would anticipate no. I don't think we've had any findings that have had to do anything with inappropriate spending of the actual fiscal dollars. So my answer, if that's what you're asking for, no.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vicky, you have nothing for me, and there's no other questions. Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Next is item 13. I'll take a motion to receive and file items A, B, and C. Motion from Commissioner Wallace, support from Commissioner Ha. Are there any comments or questions on these items? Seeing none, please vote.
Commissioner Voino, I didn't receive a vote from you. If you want a voice vote. Aye. Thank you. Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to public participation. Anybody from the public wishing to speak, come to the mic. Give us your name. You have 3 minutes. I will be timing you. The clock's already started. Lord, I'm kidding.
My name is Lori Phillips. I have had the pleasure to be on the board of Community Mental Health for 7 years. Just to give you a story, what brought me there was I have a 38-year-old son with autism. But I wanted today, I was going to speak earlier, but hearing some of the candidates is we need to remember there are so many, mental health is an umbrella for so many different conditions. It's for substance abuse. It's for the IDD population. It's for jail diversion. It is this whole umbrella that we fall under. And one of the things, I do come to these occasionally, and I will be before you in 2 more years. But I want to read our mission statement to you. I don't know if any of you have heard it or have before, but I'd like to read it to you. Our mission, Macomb County Community Mental Health, guided by the values, strengths, and informed choices of the people we serve, provides quality services which promote recovery, community participation, self-sufficiency, and independence. Today, we heard some things that are just with a certain agenda. You know, we're in charge of budgets that are guided by Medicaid guidelines. I would love to come in and say, I'd like to give everybody CLS hours who has a child that's IDD. It's not going to happen. So I'm asking you take into account some of the ideas that I heard today did not take that whole umbrella. They're coming in. Jail diversion is important. We're working on that. Unfortunately, I've never seen one of these people come to a board meeting, and Mr. Kraft and Ms. Wallace can tell you, I don't miss any of the meetings at any time. I probably have one of the best attendance records, but I just want you to take
already
into
have 30
consideration.
seconds.
Thanks. I'll remember that. I do chair some committees, but I just want you to take into account this whole umbrella, and when you make these decisions, take everybody, whether it's substance abuse, whatever, into account, because this is my job and this is what is important to me and every person in Macomb County and the needs that they have. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to change some things. And things are going to get harder next year for us, and hard decisions are going to have to be made. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Anybody else for public participation? Please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and County Commissioners, George Kale. And just to concur with the young lady that just spoke, you have a very, very difficult task in front of you with all of the candidates that did come before you. But it also emphasizes you also have a very important role to play, because we really are on a cusp when it comes to Macomb County Community Mental Health. Years ago, I was a vendor for Macomb County Community Mental Health. I'll save that for a different time. But with the decision that you have to make, it will be critical to encompass every aspect of the, if you will, the spectrum of community mental health that we can possibly deliver to our youth, to those of us who are middle-aged, and to those of us that are in our later years in life. And if we can integrate that type of a system, we could take the slogan for the jail, it's more than a jail, and maybe come up with it's more than a shelter, or it's more than mental health. So your decision will be critical. Carefully review all of the candidates, their resumes, their spoken words that they had before you, and I trust that we'll make the best decision moving forward. And we look forward to seeing, of course, a fabulous community mental health program moving into the years ahead. And also, we will be impacted by constraints on federal and state dollars, so let's keep that in mind too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Please approach the microphone. Give us your name. You have 3 minutes.
Yes. Hello, my name is Angela Cope. I was told to come here to express some grievances. I sent the email out on March the 5th to some of the board members regarding some issues I had with the staff. At the commissioners, I think her name was Becky, Perry. I felt like she spoke to me in an appropriate manner. I wanted it to be addressed, but I never got a response to my email. I know I emailed Mr. Sabatini and Executive Office of Macomb County. I just feel like that I'm not being treated fairly by the Macomb County Executive Office. Now, Mr. Ray was helping me with some issues with the smart bus, but he hasn't exactly advocated for me. I just feel like I'm being mistreated by everyone here at the county office. I feel like, y'all speak about mental health, but when it comes to certain people's mental health, you don't care. I do suffer from mental illness and everything, but I just feel like I'm being denied services. And I also think it's racially motivated also, that's my opinion, but I just feel like you don't care about people like me, But yet you want to speak about mental health, but do you really care about mental health if the person looks like a black person? I feel like I'm in denied services. I just feel like I live in Macomb County, but I don't feel like I'm a citizen here, I'm looking to move anyway, but I just feel like I'm being denied services. I just want that to be addressed. You know, I thought I had an advocate here, but it seemed like he just went back on his word. He promised to help me, but then he just went ghost on me, you know. And Mr. Hacko, you know, he promised he would have a meeting with me. That never happened, you know. I just feel like I'm being just misled by everyone here at the county executive office. And that's it.
Thank you, Angela. Is there anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Anybody else? All right, we'll close public participation. We'll move on to commissioners' comments. Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Last Friday, we had the opportunity, Commissioner Van Sickle and myself, to serve some food at the Cultural Commission, or dinner, I should say, at Sterling Heights. And it was quite an opportunity, and we served, from my last count in talking to some of the people there, a difference of 14 different cultures of food. Everything from, I guess, hummus to sweet potato pie. And it was quite an experience. It was an enjoyable experience. Switching hats, I had a chance last week, Thursday, to have March's Reading Month, and, and I read to the fourth graders over at Bruce Collins, and I'm going to say again, if you have the opportunity, March is still young, trust me, it's a lot of fun, the kids enjoy it, and I think you should take it upon yourselves to do it. That's all I have. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, seeing no other
Motion to
speakers.
adjourn.
Motion from Romano, support from Wallace. Please vote.